Hello and welcome to our lesson on multiples and lowest common multiples, LCMs. In this lesson, we'll first start by defining what multiples are and how to identify them for any given number. Then we will introduce the concept of the lowest common multiple, LCM, and explain why it is important. Finally, we'll apply this understanding to find the LCM of two or more numbers through a variety of examples and exercises. In our previous lessons, we've laid a strong foundation by discussing prime factors, understanding how every number can be broken down into a product of prime numbers. With our understanding of prime factors, we can now explore the concepts of multiples and lowest common multiples. These topics are essential for solving various mathematical problems, particularly those involving fractions and algebra. For instance, imagine you are tasked with adding two fractions with different denominators. To do this efficiently, you need to find the least common denominator, which is often the LCM of the two denominators. This knowledge allows us to combine and manipulate fractions accurately, paving the way for more complex calculations and problem solving. Let's get started. First, we must understand multiples. When we talk about multiples, we're referring to the numbers you find in the multiplication table of another number. For example, the multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and so on. These are all results you would get if you multiplied 6 by different whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Let's now look at the relationship between multiples and factors. If a number, such as 6, is a multiple of another number, such as 2, then that other number, 2, is known as a factor of our multiple 6. In simpler terms, a factor is a number we multiply by another to get our original number. For example, since 6 equals 2 times 3, both 2 and 3 are factors of 6. Now let's introduce the lowest common multiple, LCM. The lowest common multiple, LCM, of two or more numbers is the smallest number that is a multiple of each of these numbers. This means it is the smallest number that all the given numbers can divide into without leaving a remainder. There are two methods to find the lowest common multiple, LCM. Let's start with method 1, listing multiples. One straightforward way to find the LCM is to list out the multiples of each number and then identify the smallest number that appears in all lists. We can demonstrate this by finding the LCM of 5 and 4. First, list the multiples. Multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on. And multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and so on. Then identify the smallest common multiple. The first number that appears in both lists is 20. So the LCM of 5 and 4 is 20. Now let's move on to method 2, prime factorization and Venn diagram. Another effective way to find the LCM is by using prime factorization and a Venn diagram. For our example, we can find the LCM of 12 and 30. First, we must perform prime factorization. For 12, we get 12 equals 2 times 2 times 3. And for 30, we get 30 equals 2 times 3 times 5. To calculate the LCM, we next need to use a Venn diagram. Draw two overlapping circles and label one circle with the prime factors of 12 and the other with the prime factors of 30. In the overlapping section, include the common prime factors. Finally, to find the LCM, multiply each circled number only once. Multiply all the prime factors in both circles, 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Calculate the product, which is 60. So the LCM of 12 and 30 is 60. By using these two methods, you now have multiple strategies to find the LCM of any set of numbers. Choose the method that feels more intuitive for you. Remember, not all factors need to be multiplied twice. Only include common factors once to avoid duplication and get the correct LCM. This foundational knowledge will be extremely valuable as we continue to explore and solve more complex mathematical problems involving fractions, algebra, and beyond. Let's practice with some examples and exercises. Example 1, finding multiples. Let's start with a straightforward example. Suppose we want to find the first 5 multiples of 4. Let's go through this example step by step. First, multiply 4 by 1, which equals 4. Secondly, multiply 4 by 2, which equals 8. Thirdly, multiply 4 by 3, which equals 12. Fourth, multiply 4 by 4, which equals 16. Fifth, multiply 4 by 5, which equals 20. So the first 5 multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. For example 2, we will find the LCM using prime factors. Now let's find the LCM of 12 and 15 using their prime factors. We'll break down each number into its prime factors first. For prime factorization of 12 and 15, we get 12 equals 2 times 2 times 3, or 2 squared times 3, and 15 equals 3 times 5. To find the LCM, we take the highest power of each prime number that appears in the factorization of either number. Let's go through this example step by step. First, list all prime factors 2, 3, and 5. Second, identify the highest power of each prime factor. The highest power of 2 in the factorizations is 2 squared. The highest power of 3 is 3, and the highest power of 5 is 5. And finally, multiply these together to find the lowest common multiple so that LCM equals 2 squares times 3 times 5. Therefore, the LCM equals 4 times 3 times 5, which equals 60. So the LCM of 12 and 15 is 60. The method of finding the highest powers of the prime factors achieves the same thing as drawing out the Venn diagrams, but can sometimes be easier. Pause this video and try to find the LCM using a Venn diagram to show that you get the same result. Example 3, finding the LCM using listing multiples. We'll now tackle finding the LCM of 6 and 8 by listing multiples. Let's go through this step by step. First, list the multiples of 6. Second, list the multiples of 8. Finally, identify the smallest common multiple. The common multiples of 6 and 8 from the lists are 24, 48, and so on. But the smallest common multiple is 24. Thus, the LCM of 6 and 8 is 24. In today's lesson, we explored the concepts of multiples and lowest common multiples, LCMs. We began by defining multiples as the results of multiplying a given number by whole numbers. We then discussed the relationship between multiples and factors, emphasizing that if a number is a multiple of another, the latter is a factor of the former. Next, we introduced the lowest common multiple, LCM, which is the smallest number that is a multiple of 2 or more given numbers. Understanding LCMs is critical for solving problems involving fractions and algebra. We covered 2 primary methods to find the LCM, listing multiples and using prime factorization with a Venn diagram. By mastering these techniques, you're now equipped to find the LCM of any set of numbers, a skill that will be highly useful in more complex mathematical contexts. Let's continue practicing these methods through various examples to solidify your understanding and enhance your problem-solving skills. Watch the rest of the GCSE Maths course at Sophos Education.